Ahotech is the overlord regent of the Subekar dynasty. Serving in the royal court in the stead of his pharaoh, Amontech, the Crimson Scythe, Ahotech rules over the Necron crown world of the Hollow Sun. Never anticipating such a prestigious position, his master's rule was of such a reputation that none among the dynasty had even comprehended another to rule over them. Yet here Ahotech stood, the most senior of his peers, attaining his rank not through treachery against his lord, but remorseless and relentless political maneuvering against his contemporaries. Advancing to a position of power during the War in Heaven, Ahotech's legion suffered far fewer losses than his overlord comrades, and managed to continually evade their attempts to diminish his power. An ever-present, yet disguised entity throughout the war, Ahotech, with the conclusion of the War in Heaven, had watched his rivals incur massive casualties. Deeming such catastrophe to be the fault of the Karnavok dynasty, the seed of the Crimson Scythe's legendary hatred had been sown and paved the way for Ahotech's ascension. A consummate schemer, Ahotech allowed his master's hatred to further empower his own influence at the cost of the future of his dynasty. Utterly loyal to his master, Ahotech, once awoken from the great sleep of 60 million years, began to understand the cost of his meddling. Finding his pharaoh to be in a comatose state, incurred from the metastasized hatred of the Karnavok dynasty, Ahotech had always been the obvious, if unlikely, successor to the throne. Despite his absolute ruthlessness in ending the reign of his peers, Ahotech does not like to get his own hands dirty, and as such finds himself in a quandary as ruler of his dynasty. Regarding personal combat as beneath him, Ahotech believes such martial duels as the purview of lesser beings, and only conducts such combat with overwhelming efficiency. Prevailing against all enemy champion combatants when necessary, Ahotech takes no pride nor pleasure in killing his enemies, for such acts are simply a means to an end. Expedient in his methods of waging war, Ahotech utilizes arcane weapons capable of mass destruction to rid himself of such nuisances. Spending the majority of his time and effort attempting to revive his dormant lord, it is the hope of the regent of the Hollow Sun that with the revival of his master, a resurgence of his dynasty shall follow. Physically incapable of acting against his lord due to the command codes ingrained in his psyche, Ahotech has tasked the Crimtech Ozcan with the objective of retrieving the command protocols from the Crimson Scythe's mind without harming him. Scouring the Jericho Reach for a means to revive his pharaoh, Ahotech has uncovered several tomb worlds whose location was known only to Amontech. Though whether such meddling in the schemes of the dark pattern of planets has been a boon or detriment to his master's designs, remains to be seen.